Well, hello there. Recently I got the pleasure of joining Starsector tournament. Also a lot of YouTubers attended, with the highlight of the night being probably Ymfah versus Big Brain Energy. And as I competed as well, I want to share some of my thought process of creating a strong fleet. And if you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. There's so much knowledge to be gained by watching this, and a lot of fun as well. The rules of the tournament were quite simple. Simply said 100 deployment points, 12 ships to deploy, all officers level 6, and you can use S-mod, meaning that these things will be ridiculously powerful. Also, I set 2 more rules specifically for me. I would not be able to look up any broken strategies on the internet, and I would only use knowledge that I gain up to this point. Second rule, I would not use only phase ship fleet. Honestly speaking, if it would be life or death situation for me to win the tournament, I would build only phase ship fleet, maybe just spamming afflictors. But as I normally don't play much with phase ships, the fleet just wouldn't be me, you know? And I wanted to try something different. And so first of all, I want to try capital ships. Of course, I want to use my favorite Conquest, but although I love the ship, I knew at the very beginning that if I used this strategy, it would be over. Even in simple matchup, Conquest cannot win against Onslaught AI, because when you are piloting it, you will get away. When AI, not so often. And that's a risk I'm not willing to take. Not to mention going against phase ships, yeah, that thing would probably get wrecked. And I thought 5 Eagles would do the trick. I thought they could take small ships quite effectively, although in hindsight they will be quite susceptible to flanking. But let's go with the simple again. Put it against 2 Onslaughts, and the probability of Onslaught rushing in and just obliterating few of those is too high. Therefore, I scrapped this idea as well. At this moment, I went for hours testing new ideas. 2 Onslaught, a good idea, wouldn't it be? But what if one of the Onslaughts doesn't listen and gets flanked? Yeah, pretty much over. And again, phase ships seems like a nightmare. Spamming Omens didn't work for me, and I probably should check some better builds. Talons didn't work as well. I also tried some Griffins, but I found out that against capital ship, they didn't have just that to break through, so the idea was scrapped away. One idea that actually worked for me pretty well was using Paragon with some support fleet. And although it was working quite well, I still had that nagging feeling that one big ship with just few support, because you don't have much points left, would just get overwhelmed. At the end, I didn't go for it. And what's interesting, if you want to check out how these loadouts work in tournament, some of the builds I have showed you were used by actual players in the tournament. Bit different compositions, but you will get the idea. Big Brain Energy with the Paragon, Ymfah with the Griffin, and look at the beginning volley of rockets that is happening. Pretty crazy. And of course, we also had the Afflictor spam. If my life was on the line, this would be something I would have built. I mean, you have to check the tournament. There are some crazy battles and ideas. So let me know in the comments if you are interested. Maybe in the future I would do a few comments on the tournament and highlight a few parts that I found very interesting. And also, if you're already here, if you could support this video by pressing a like, it would really make my day. If you have been paying attention up to this point, you realize what is the problem of AI battles. The AI itself. You might have a great idea and actually know how to execute it, but the AI doesn't really listen. If you could have a bit more control, so much more fleets would be viable. I have to show you one thing from the tournament, because that is crazy. It was one of the most painful things I have seen in this tournament. It is between Firecat and Grumpy Thumper. Small ships here just pull half of the fleet away, while these things cannot catch up because, like, these things are so fast. The small ships go ahead, and half of his fleet just separates like Moses. Look at this fleet, and the Moras are left alone. Where are they going? The main fleet is here. Look at them up there. This made my mind explode. You pretty much don't even get how the fleet would do when the AI wouldn't just do the most BS thing imaginable. This made my eyes bleed. So you get me, the AI is the biggest problem here. So to remedy that, I thought I would use Reckless Officers. At the end, Reckless Officer means you have to go balls to the wall. And the choice for me was Fleet of Sunders with Safety Override. And this would be the fleet that would represent me at the tournament. If you don't know, Safety Overrides is very broken mod in my opinion. Increases of top speed, flux dissipation rate increased by a factor of 2, but the peak performance is heavily lowered, and you also lose range on the weapon, which is very important. That's why I used Hardened Subsistence, so my fleets would stay longer in the battle. The flux stats with the Safety Overrides are over capital ship. Look at this, more than Onslaught, and pretty close to the Conquest. With this build, the flux capacity is double for this kind of small ship. Very impressive. at the speed. Oh my. Long time ago, I saw a YouTube video using a sunder with safety overrides, and I thought this would be my pick. By the way, when I tested the ships, they weren't fully pimped out. They were without officers and without S-mod, so I could see the power more clearly. These things just performed in the simulation. They would destroy things. And if they have a reckless officer, they will just pile on the target. So we are not that worried that they will do much stupid stuff. Or at least that's the hope. Of course, you cannot control the AI, but you just want to increase the probability of them doing the smart thing as much as you can. After testing for a few hours, I realized a few things. This thing, in my opinion, would destroy any capital fleet. It would destroy any destroyer fleet. And the only weakness I foresaw was spaceships or small ships. But the speed of the Sunder with the safety overrides, they would catch anything, would they? In hindsight, I made a small miscalculation here, but at the moment, I didn't know. So for me, it was a clear win if I didn't go against Space Fleet. This is the build I submitted. The Afflictor, the officer for the Sunder, Reckless. And by the way, I made a huge mistake in this officer. I forgot one skill for some reason. Let me know if you know what I'm missing. By the way, the idea for the Afflictors was to distract the enemy because they can do it very well. Now let's jump into the tournament and let's see how my fleet handled itself.
And next up we have Uran 92 versus Tranquility. Looks like Uran is going for a very safety overrides heavy fleet with 7 Sunders all kitted out with safety override. On the other hand, Tranquility is going for another safety override fleet. This time with Omens and Hyperions, leaning a lot more on the Omens and the Afflictors rather than going heavy on the Hyperions like we saw earlier. Sunder is a very, very high DPS ship relative to its cost. Looks like we can see that in action right here. It looks like the Hyperions and the Omens have no problem outmaneuvering it. Its hard point for its main gun is coming down to be a big weakness for it because it can't actually get its gun on target. Its engines are constantly being assaulted by the EMP emitters from the Omens, meaning that its hard point is constantly facing in the wrong direction. So while Uran did get a couple kills here and there,
I don't even have to watch it. I got destroyed. I destroyed only one Omen. The rest of the battles are the same. I get absolutely crushed. I thought the Sunder would be so fast that no small ship would catch it or compete with the speed with it. Until you realize that your enemies will also use safety overrides. If you didn't notice what happened, I will explain very fast. The Omens are way too fast. Maybe if I improved the maneuverability of the Sunderers, maybe something could have happened, but I didn't. So as you can see, the guns just cannot stay on the target. They just move super fast, change target. They cannot get the burst in. And once the enemy ships get behind the Sunder, they just flame out and can't do anything. Besides the Afflictors, this might have been the worst matchup I could have gone against. Look at this, that's just hard to look at. But don't fret, we have losers bracket. Hopefully we will do better. We're against Dominator and 2 champions. And remember, I said capital ships and cruisers, anything bigger than Sunder shouldn't be a problem. Let's see if I was right.
next we've got Seakeal versus Uran 92.
And now we are fighting. Look at the AI, by the way. Here, what happens?
The ones who are outnumbered instead of the other way around. That Dominator actually managed to land 2
Where are you looking, mate? But again, the small ships are distracting the Sunder fleet. That's such an underestimation on my part.
It's surrounded by Sunders, but it seems to be holding its own. Another Reaper. That's another Reaper shot down. That's, what is that, 5, 6? That's a lot of Reapers getting shot down.
What is the point defense doing on that Dominator? That's insane. Eventually my fleet would get overrun again, distracted by the small ships. The AI is getting too distracted. Look at this. If they would focus the big ship, it would be okay, but they just want to hunt down the small ones. They're showing the back and it's over. But stay with me here. It's worth watching the rest 2 rounds. Let's see if we get distracted again. Sunder gets put down immediately. Another is doing very interesting stuff here. But look at this. We are starting to get the Sunders in the second match on the target. As they should. Look,
the Sunders have gotten, well, they pounced onto that champion.
You
wow,
could just get deleted. That's the point of the stats.
Early kill against that champion.
Look at what will happen to the other champion. We are not watching it, unfortunately, but it will die soon. Look at this. 101, this bigger ship has... It will get destroyed.
Last much longer. There it goes.
And again, same fleet. Look how clear victory it was. Absolute domination. Are we staying in this game or not? And now, again, hopefully, I don't remember this part that much, but not all of the Sunderers are getting distracted. So maybe if they focus one target, they can take it down. And by the way, why did I use Reapers? Because right now the Dominator is surviving such a punishment from the autopulse lasers. And you have the Reapers to punch through the armor. But the bone defense system that he has is absurd.
And it's shooting down all of the Reapers again. Very impressive. Not letting a single Reaper through.
Oh no, boys and girls. But we are getting through. Finally, the Reapers.
Reapers are hitting. Now the Dominator is dead. Can they take out the remaining Sunders?
We will see. Look at this. Look at the power of the... against bigger ships. And look what happens if the ships aren't distracted and can fire. Look at this, what will happen.
Champion is looking healthy a second ago, but wow, that Reaper and those autopulse lasers are making quick work.
And then just like that, and we will win. Not such a clear victory, but we did it. Seakeal, good job. You fought well. And Tranquility, you bugger. Well played. Now we are still in the loser's bracket. Next time we will fight the loser of 202. Hopefully no small ships will win. The Grievous battle could be interesting. With 2 Atlases. And Idiopathic? Oh no. Omens and Medusas. Hopefully he doesn't win, because you know where it might go. Now when I'm looking back, I would do a few changes to this fleet. Still believe that this fleet could do very well against big ship fleets. But in this tournament there was a lot of small ones. So if I would compete again here and had to use Sunders, the first thing I would add would be the thrusters to increase the maneuverability by 50%. This in itself could be a lifesaver to keep the gun on the small target. I would also drop a few of these Sunders, like 3 or 4. At the end I would add maybe some talents or omens, making the fleet look more like this. But still it would depend on the enemy fleet, and if the auxiliary thrusters would do the work I hope they would. You never know. Long story short, building Sunders like this makes them incredibly powerful. They are even capable of destroying, for example, Conquest. In simple terms, the firepower of these things is unreal. And do damage from behind and use torpedoes to hit your friends. No, to break the enemy armor, so you will deal the damage with the autopulse lasers. Be prepared to lose few of these, because if they make a mistake, they are a goner. By the way, let me know in the comments below what you thought of the tournament and who you are rooting for. I hope you enjoyed and take care.